recovered by the Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frosty Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome in to the LA Football Show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Happy to be here on the LA Football Network, AM, the mightier 1090, and always on the Believe Podcast Network. Happy to have you here. Happy almost New Year. It's New Year's Eve. Hopefully, you're all driving to some fun soiree to celebrate the end of 2021. You know, I would say 2021 was definitely better than 2020, but it was not as good as I think we all hoped from how bad 2020 was. A lot of those lingering effects carried over, but a lot of good things. We got somewhat back to normalcy. We got, specifically in regards to what we talk about here, we got football back with fans, attending games and doing all that stuff. And, still a lot of tough stuff going on in the world, a lot of tough decisions being made, a lot of bad decisions being made. But here we are, heading into a new year, 2022. Insane. The year 2022 AD. It's crazy to think about. Crazy thing about my daughter will be turning 2 next year. Yeah, love to hear from you guys. Let me know what some good moments you had in 2021. You can hit me up on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just type below in the comments. I'll reply back. Love to hear it. If you're on radio, Twitter, Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. You can also email me at ryan.dyrud@lafbnetwork.com. It's a wild year. And we're still going for football. Got a good show for you today. Some big-time games this weekend for our Rams and Chargers. Big-time games. We got the Rams traveling out to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Ravens, big game for them as they're fighting for their playoff lives. As that division, they got blown out by the Bengals. So now they got to bounce back, and they're clinging on to a wild card spot. Rams hoping to clinch the division. They already clinched the playoffs, but have a shot to clinch the division, while also still an outside shot to win the conference. I talked last episode. We'd love to be in that. Obviously, the 1 seed is the goal, but I think the 2 seed is still a lot better than 3. I know that's common sense. You always want to be the highest seed, but just based on who their matchup could be, I think moving up to that 2 spot, if they could somehow jump Dallas, would definitely be great for them, just based on matchups, based on where it is right now. Again, things can change, but as it is right now, the Rams will play the Niners week 1 of the playoffs. They'll play them week 18, and then they would play them in the playoffs the next week, back to back, which is always interesting. I wonder how often that's happened, where a team ends their regular season against someone and then plays them in the first round of the playoffs. I'm sure it's happened. I'm just wondering how often. Anyway, we're getting into that game. Very important. And then the Chargers hanging on to their playoff lives after a brutal loss to the Texans, sitting at 8-7. Talked about it last episode, what they need to do to make the playoffs. First, they need to win out. They got to beat the Broncos this weekend. Then they got to beat the Raiders last game of the season. They could use some help with the Miami loss, which, Miami has, they play both the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. So definite possibility there. But first and foremost, Chargers need to win out. And they have a big one against division rival Broncos, who blew them out earlier this year. So the plan is I will be at that game, actually, at SoFi. So anyone out in the Bolt fam listening would love to meet up. Me and my wife are planning on going. We had some, I won't get into it, but had some, if you listened last episode, had some tough family news that happened for both me and my wife just a few days ago. So pending anything changing with that circumstance, we will be at the game Sunday, but it just depends if we end up needing to travel somewhere or whatnot. But would love to see you all there. Have a good time. End the last regular season game at SoFi off with a bang. That being said, if you need tickets, big sponsor of the show is our friends TickPick. New ticketing agency. You got to check them out if you haven't already. No fees. guys, on any of your ticket purchases. They don't just have games. They got concerts, entertainment events. It's literally like StubHub, but no fees. How great is that? I don't know how often you buy tickets. If you go to StubHub, you're getting gouged for 15, 20, 30 bucks on top of what the ticket price is. TickPick, no fees. So go to tickpick.com/LAFB. Got to use that link. tickpick.com/LAFB. Purchase tickets for the Chargers Bronco game there, and you will have no fees. I'll have the link in the description below. So make sure to check them out. All right. Let's get into this Rams game. Rams trail to Baltimore. I was hoping to go to this game, actually, because we have family out in Baltimore now. But then when it came out that it was going to be on January 2nd, figured it would be tough after just traveling for Christmas and then traveling right away. So unfortunately, we'll be watching it from home. But it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game because, like I said, everything I mentioned before about the importance of this game for both teams down the stretch. I love these last few weeks when there's a lot on the line, because then you see it's basically the playoffs start today for teams like the Ravens, for teams like the Chargers. Playoffs start today, this weekend. For teams like the Rams, they can lose. I mean, they already clinched a playoff berth, but it's still a very important game for them as they want to move up in seeding. And like I said, have a shot for that 1 seed still. I mean, if they can get home field throughout and not have to go through Green Bay, which looks like what it's going to be right now, that's huge. But still moving into that 2 seed allows them to not have to go to Green Bay until the championship game, until the NFC championship game, which you want to obviously prolong that as long as possible, I think. And they played in Green Bay already this year, and I know they lost, but the game was not as bad as I think a lot of fans made it out to be. There were some bad moments. Some would look at the score and say, well, they got some garbage time points. It was not that close. But if you watch the whole game, I mean, they were fighting the whole game. They had a few lapses and drives. Defense could not, stop the underneath stuff, could not stop the run. I think the defense has improved substantially since that game. We've seen Raheem Morris make a lot of adjustments, change things up, use guys differently, use Jalen Ramsey differently. Like, I don't think we'll see him moving all over the field again if they play Green Bay. I think we'll see him on Devontae Adams all game. So this is a better team. I talked about last game, how Stafford struggled, his 3 interceptions. Can't have that in the playoffs. But the fact that all other facets of the game, they never surrendered a lead against a playoff-hungry Vikings team. And then ended up winning, obviously, by 7, but they were ahead by 2 scores at one point, by 10. And your quarterback throws 3 picks, 2 of them being on your side of the field. And that's good because you have to think a player of Matthew Stafford's caliber, and I'll say it again, he is a great quarterback in this league. Has had some struggles this year, yes. He's not elite in terms of a top 2 quarterback, but he's a top 10 to 12 quarterback. And he gives you a shot to win. Sometimes he'll throw you out of the games, but he didn't do that on Sunday against the Vikings, and I don't think he'll do that in the playoffs when the marbles are on the line. If you want to really look at how much of an upgrade this quarterback position has been so far, already over 4,141 passing yards, almost at 40 touchdowns. He will, when the season is over, 2 games left. When the season is over, he will have doubled Jared Goff's touchdown total from last year. Now, obviously, circumstances were different. But remember, it's not like the Rams were a bad team last year. They went to the divisional round of the playoffs. They had the number 1 defense. They had a very mediocre offense last year. But they were a good football team. It wasn't like in 2019 where they were a 9-win team, missed the playoffs. So people will say, well, you can't, every year is different. Yeah, of course it is. They had the number 3 rated offensive line last year. Cam Akers, for the most part, was healthy. I know he's a rookie, but they're able to have him. And Jared Goff finished with 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Now, he had some good games. Again, if you listen to the show, I'm never one to get on Goff. I think he was great here in LA, but when you are able to trade for a quarterback and he doubles the touchdown total That's a pretty good upgrade. It's a pretty good upgrade. And your offense jumps in almost every statistical category. Now, he's got to cut down these bonehead interceptions that we've seen time and time again, unfortunately. Again, frustrating again on Sunday. Some of those decision makings, like it was just off day. But overall, I think we'll get it right. And I think it goes through the running game now, too, with Sony Michel, who has broken out and really proven to not just be the RB1 of this team, but right now he's the RB1 in the NFL. In the last 3 weeks, he has the most rushing yards in the NFL over Jonathan Taylor. Sony Michel, your Los Angeles Rams running back, leads the NFL in rushing the last 3 weeks. And you're getting Cam Akers back. I know Darrell Henderson's going on the IR, so that's unfortunate, but I think we know what we know about him so far this year, unfortunately. Pray for his health and recovery. But getting Cam Akers back, who I don't even want to see him till the playoffs. I know there's a chance. Sean McVay came out and said he could play this weekend against Baltimore. I know they're just let him keep practicing, getting right. Let's save him for the playoffs. And then you can unleash him, with Sony Michel. And you have a great 1-2 punch. Not good, great. That's a first and a second round pick right there in the backfield. So, when comparing these two teams, these Rams and Ravens, I'll go over some statistics here, and I won't bore you too much, but it'll help with kind of the matchup that we want to see. And I'll do this for the Chargers game too. So, the Rams right now, 7th in team offense with 379 yards per game, 6th in passing, 276 per game, 24th in rushing, 103.1 per game. Now, that's collectively over 15 games. That number, like I said, the last 3 weeks has been a lot better. I think they're in the top 10 or 7 in rushing in the last 3 games. So that alone bodes them well. Now, though, this is going to be a game where I've talked a lot all year about the best way to unleash Matthew Stafford and to make him the best that he can be is by giving him a great running game. Now, this week, they play a Baltimore Ravens team that ranks first against the run, giving up 85.6 yards per game, and dead last against the pass, giving up 280.5 yards per game. So, the Rams still need to attack the box and run the football just to keep it honest. You would see those stats and say, okay, let's just throw it all over the yard 45 plus times. This is why we traded for Matthew Stafford. He's got to be able to come out, sling the ball over the yard, put the team on his back, and win it through the air. But you still need to keep the defense honest and keep them knowing that, okay, Sony Michel has broken out these last 3 weeks. He's been very successful. The offensive line is blocking well against the run. We get Andrew Whitworth back. Didn't mention that, but he's coming off the COVID list or is already off the COVID list. So your offensive line is pretty much fully back intact. You still need to run the ball 20 times this game. Now, it's a stout run defense with a great front seven. One of the best in football, obviously. Look at the statistics. But what the running does is it's still going to keep them honest. It's still going to force them to play physical. And then you gash them through the air and pick apart the secondary. But if you come out and run the ball 9 times and just go to the air right away, it's too easy for a defensive coordinator like Wink Martindale. It just makes it too easy. You have to attack what they're good at to then expose what they're bad at. I'm going to say that again. You need to attack what they're good at so that you can expose what they're bad at. I want to see them run the ball 20 to 25 times. I don't care if you're averaging 2.2 yards a clip. Because it's going to keep them honest. So 20, 25 rushes, and then you gouge them in the passing game. And we get Cooper Kupp breaking records. We get OBJ scoring another touchdown, doubling his numbers since his whole career in Cleveland. What an acquisition that's been for the Rams. He's been fantastic. So that's, I think, the game plan. And we'll see if McVay sticks to it. I know how frustrating it is for fans, even against the Vikings. Run was going well, and then he kind of abandoned it a little bit there for a while, came back to it. McVay's not a coach that's going to, if he's getting 2 yards a clip, he's not going to stick to it. It is what it is at this point. We can cry and moan and get mad on Twitter all everyone wants. You're not going to teach an old dog new tricks. I know he's a young dog, but at this point, 5 years coaching, we know what McVay is. Now, I hope he would adjust a little bit. He's never going to fully change that, but hey, just knowing, let's keep the run game at least as an option so that when we can expose them and that 32 ranked defense in the passing game, where the Rams rank 6th in the league. So we'll see. But that's what I would hope to do. Cooper Kupp, needs like 122 yards per game these last 2 games to break Calvin Johnson's record. I hope he gets 200 on Sunday. 200. Go into the final game of the season with, not a lot of pressure. I truly believe, and even if it's at the situation on week 18 where the Rams are able to maybe rest some guys, depending on seeding, if there's really not a shot for them to move up or down. But knowing McVay, knowing how much Cooper Kupp means to not just this team organization, but to Sean McVay, who you can just tell absolutely adores Cooper Kupp, he'll have him out there to get that record. Because that's something that lives in infamy. If you can pass Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, and be at the top of that, I'd love it if he broke it Sunday, did it in 16 games. Because there'll always be that little asterisk from people, which I get. I mean, it's an extra game. So, yeah, that's the hope. Get him going. When you look defensively, this is the big question mark for this Ravens team is Lamar Jackson going to play? So Tyler Huntley came off the COVID list. So if not, he will be your starting quarterback who went on the list last week. But he came off it, so he would be good to go. Lamar Jackson dealing with a lingering leg injury. Hasn't practiced this week, Wednesday or Thursday. So still a shot. He is questionable. But that would be a big, big deal if he does not go on Sunday. Now, Tyler Huntley's looked pretty dang good in some of his relief, but he's no Lamar Jackson. Rams got to prepare either way for either quarterback. But that'll be something we'll monitor. Keep it with LAFB Network. Like I said, on Twitter, Ryan Dyrud LAFB. I will keep everyone updated on what goes on with that. I would say as of now, though, I would not expect Lamar Jackson to play. If you haven't practiced this much, if that ankle is lingering you that much, which is his game. I mean, he has to be mobile. He's gotten he's improved an extreme amount as just a pocket passer. Like he could play in this league as just a pocket passer. But he's not a top 5 quarterback as a pocket passer. What makes him great is his mobility, his athleticism, his ability to extend plays. And if that's lingered by a leg injury, you're taking off one of his greatest assets. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying he still wouldn't be better than a Tyler Huntley, but Tyler Huntley looks pretty good. Now, again, this is Baltimore's playing for their playoff lives. So if he has any chance of going, he's going. And we'll see if he practices later today or tonight. I haven't seen the update on that yet. But haven't practiced yet this week. So I would say 60% he does not play. But I'm not a Baltimore beat writer. We'll try to get someone to update us on that. But their offense, 5th total offense, 382 yards. And the Rams defense is 16th total. 6th against the run, 22nd against the pass. Ravens are 12th in passing, 5th rushing. So pretty even matchup there between these two teams. Pretty even matchup. So we will see what this game, but should be a great one. My buddy Dean, Rams Brothers host, will be there in attendance. So make sure to get him on after the game. Keep it here on LAFB Network. Go to the LAFB Network YouTube page to check that out. I got to take a break. We'll be right back at the bottom of the hour to preview this Chargers and Broncos game. It's going to be a big one, so stay tuned. Talk to you guys all bottom of the hour. Welcome back to the LA Football Show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud, on a Friday, New Year's Eve. 2022 is around the corner. 2021 is coming to an end. Crazy. Cannot believe this year is almost over. These years go by so fast. I feel like we just had New Year's just a few days ago, having the worst year on record coming to an end in 2020 and all the hope and jubilation of 2021. And here we are wrapping up that year. And now there's more hope and jubilation for 2022. The hope that we can continue getting back to normal a little bit and moving past things. We'll see. We'll see. We live in a crazy world, man. Crazy world that I don't really understand. But hey, I'm going to keep being positive. My family, healthy and safe. We're happy. Great friends. Loving what we're doing at the LA Football Network. Thanks to all you that tune in every week. And, 2022 is going to be our best year yet. We got a lot of great things on the horizon for this network as we strive to become, the top football destination in Los Angeles. I think we have the ability to do that. And we're getting some backing in 2022 and have some amazing plans. We're bringing on some amazing people to really become that, the true destination and source for all of LA football in LA, local. We're adding great partners. Golden Road Brewery, got a lot of fun things planned with them in 2022. So with everything going on, a lot of negatives, but we got a lot of positives here. And we always keep it positive here on the LA Football Network. Thanks for tuning in. If you're on AM the Mighty 1090, Happy New Year to you. Be safe in your drive home or to a party, wherever you're going. If you're on the LAFB Network YouTube page watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you. So, yeah, crazy year. I said it at the top of the hour, but let me know. What were some highlights from your 2021? Hit me up in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. I'd love to hear it. I overall, good 2021 for the Dyruds. We had some tough stuff. Definitely like everyone. Had some deaths in the family. Had some medical stuff with other family members. But overall, I think it was a good year, Daughter's thriving. She turns 2 next year, insane. Started to talk. She's everywhere. She's chaos. Absolute chaos. But I love it. Little firecracker. She definitely got, my wife is Mexican-American. I'm like a mutt, but a majority is Italian-Norwegian. And she definitely got all the Mexican and Italian sides of us. Obviously, my wife's all Mexican, but she got all the Italian side from I. So she is straight Latina firecracker. You can just tell. 1.5 years old, and the sass on this little girl. I am in trouble when she becomes a teenager, but I also know that she's going to be able to take care of herself, which is great. She ain't taking nothing from nobody. We were back home for Christmas, and after this story, we'll get into our Chargers Broncos preview. Back home in Colorado, visiting mom and pop, and my brother and sister was out there from Montana and hanging out. My brother has 2 kids now. So my nephew is about 4 months older. No. 8 months older than Mia, my daughter. And then they have a newborn. But my nephew, sweet little guy, so cute running around, but he is super sensitive. Super sensitive. So anytime if he does anything wrong, my brother will literally look at him, say his name, and he just starts crying. He just knows immediately. It could even be not even in trouble. Hey buddy, stop doing that. And then boom, just waterworks. Super sensitive, kind of cute. But Mia, my daughter's the exact opposite. I can obviously, okay, I'm not physically, but I can grab her and look her in the face and raise my voice, and she will straight up laugh at me. Now, being 1.5, it's kind of funny, but I'm in trouble, man. I'm in trouble. There is times where, she will, oh man, she'll be in trouble. I will be scolding her, and she will look at me with this grin and go right back to doing it. Knowing dang well what she is doing. Trouble, man. Trouble. But Like I said, I know she'll be able to take care of herself. So that's good. That's good. So I should have put together like a year in review for this show. Some of our top moments. And we had some great guests on the show. Andrew Whitworth came on the show. Terrell Burgess came on the show. Joshua Kelly came on the show. Josh Palmer came on the show. Dimitri Felton came on the show. We had a lot of guests, at the beginning of the year. And we're just getting started. So maybe I'll try to put together a little compilation video that drops tomorrow of just some of our top guests and stuff. If I have time, that'd be fun to see. So, but I should have prepared something more, but I wanted to get into these games because we're still in the thick of it. In the thick of the season. And this Chargers game is extremely important as they fight for their playoff lives. And I know there was a lot of downcast heads and disappointment after a brutal loss to the Texans, just an unexcusable loss to the Texans. I'm always very positive, but it was just an unexcusable loss. The Chargers were missing a lot of key players on the COVID list, a lot of leadership, guys like Joey Bosa, Derwin James, who wasn't on the COVID list, but he was dealing still with that hamstring injury. Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Well, those aren't just key players. Those are leaders. But still, the Texans were missing a lot of players too. And they're playing on the road in a it was a road game for the Chargers that had more Chargers fans than home fans. No one was talking about it. That stadium was damn empty. I don't know how many people watched that game. But that NRG Stadium, I think it's still NRG, out in Houston, was empty. And the fans that were there were primarily Chargers fans. So hats off to you, Bull fam. But a bad loss. But hey, if this team has shown us anything, when they have a bad loss, they come out and they have a great win, the following week. That's just how it's been all year. Bad loss followed up by a tremendous win. And so they need that. Denver comes to town, basically all but eliminated. I think mathematically they're not technically out yet, but, sitting at 7-8. Best they can finish is 9-8. They need a lot of stuff to happen. But yeah, they're still professionals. They're going to fight for it. Vic Fangio's probably not going to be retained regardless if he wins out. I would think their organization is probably moving on from him and just going to start fresh with a new coach, new quarterback. But regardless of all that, Broncos are still going to be, it's a division rival. It's an NFL game you're playing in. Drew Lock is getting the start for the Broncos. And, he's trying to prove himself, maybe not even for the Broncos, but just for another team. These last weeks is a resume builder for him to continue his career in the NFL. Now, he has enough talent, regardless, he'll be a backup somewhere. But he's, obviously, any player out there thinks they should start. So he's going to want to prove something. Now, the Chargers get reinforcements back. Michael Davis and Mike Williams activated off the COVID list. So that's big. Derwin James still battling that injury, but I would expect him to go. Considering this is a must-win game. This defense is just so different when 33 is in the back end. He's that important. And that, you could argue, was the reason why they lost to the Texans, is not having a guy like him. Now, I know they couldn't stop the run. And Justin Jones is another guy that is huge to this defense. Talked about last episodes, when he's off the field, they give up like 6 yards per carry. When he's on, they give up like 3. That's a huge difference, guys. 3 yards. Huge difference. That's how much he means in the middle against the run. For Derwin James, everything kind of runs through him. The pass, obviously, how big he is in the secondary, but, he plays in the box. He makes other guys not have to worry about doing other jobs because he can do everything. So having him back alone, if he's able to go, will be huge. Now let's look into some of these statistics like I was doing in the last segment. Chargers rankings on offense are great. They really are. They're ranked 4th in total offense, 390 yards per game. That's pretty good. So anyone out there that's still mad at Joe Lombardi for some reason, that I will never get. Joe Lombardi has, in my opinion, been one of the top offensive coordinators in the league this year. One of the best. Calls great games. Have great play designs. Obviously isn't perfect. Sometimes hasn't been the best. But overall, in 15 games, In my opinion, he's one of the top offensive coordinators in the game. The numbers don't lie. Now, situationally, we could really break it down and get into it. And I'm sure there's analytic guys out there that look into that, which I just don't have time for right now. But overall, he's called good games. Now, some of it's been poor execution. We've seen Justin Herbert, who I've said many times is a top 3 quarterback, I think, at this point in the league. But he's been very up and down this year. Last week against the Texans, had a crucial interception before the half. It would have led to points. Would have been a field goal at minimum, touchdown potentially. Forced to throw, underthrew it, ended up as a interception in the end zone. Can't have that. This team, unfortunately, the way it's constructed right now, based on depth, is they're not like the Rams, where the Rams had a poor game for Matthew Stafford and the rest of the team picked him up and they won the game. This Chargers team right now is a good team if everyone's out there, but with guys out, and even with guys not out, this team goes based on Justin Herbert's performance. Now, with another offseason that they can build and add depth, that can change. The defense is going to get better, guys. I know I'll get into that in a second, freaking out about hiring Brandon Staley and the defense has not been good. These things take time. I've said it many times, so I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. But everyone talks about, whoa, he came into the Rams, and in 1 year, they went from like 15th to 1st in one season. A different roster construction. That was already a 3-4 base defense. It was a Wade Phillips system. This Staley system is different than Wade Phillips, but it is much more similar than what he came to with the Chargers. Going from a Gus Bradley cover 3 to a 3-4 shell high safety 2-man. Completely different. So that's one. The Rams system was much more similar. The roster construction was much better suited for a quick flip. And 2, when you're a coordinator, that is your job. Coordinating the defense. You don't have to worry about roster construction, free agency, the draft. Yeah, you put in your 2 cents. Coach, love to go after this guy. Coach, love this guy in the draft. But your job is coordinating the defense and scheming. Once you're the head coach, not only is he coordinating the defense, I know Ronaldo Hill's a defense coordinator, but Brandon Staley's calling the plays. But now you're in charge of roster construction, the draft, free agency. Oh, what's the offense doing? What's the special teams doing? So when your 100% focus was on one thing a year ago, now you're able to put a basically 20% focus on that. So it's going to take time. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. Luckily for them, they come and play a Broncos offense that not only is missing a ton of players. So let me just get this who the Broncos have on the COVID list going into this game. Tim Patrick is the big ones are Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, and Bradley Chubb. All 3 of those guys on the list, they're out. So you get 2 starting receivers. And now you're down to Cortland Sutton. Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy are 2 integral starting receivers. So they're out. Tyree Cleveland, who's a depth offensive line piece. Caden Stearns, depth safety. Gets a lot of playing time, though, in nickel. Your secondary, you have Bryce Callahan out. Jonathan Cooper, outside linebacker, also on the COVID list. He's out. Stephen Weatherly's out on the COVID list. Edge piece. So going up against the Broncos offense, I know I listed some defenders there too. Let's look about first about this offense. It already coming into this game ranked 19th in the league, averaging 329 yards a game. 19th in passing, 13th in rushing. Obviously, Javonte Williams is in a bright spot. He's going to be a really good back for many years that the Chargers have to face twice a year. Number 1 in like broken tackles and yards after contact. Tore the Chargers apart the first meeting. So, I mean, the Broncos still have a shot because of their backs with him and Melvin Gordon and because of the Chargers' lack of good execution against the run. But all those players out, all those power rankings, they're 23rd in points, averaging 19 points a game. No excuses. No excuses regardless. But with the Broncos having that many guys out, offense is already as bad as it is. This defense getting Joey Bosa back, getting Michael Davis back, hopefully getting Derwin James back. Now you're missing other guys. I know that Nasir Ali is going to be out. I mean, they just cannot have their starters ever all together. It's unfortunate. But this Broncos offense should not be able to do anything. The only chance the Broncos offense has, aside from the running game, is the element of surprise. Drew Lock didn't play against the Chargers in the first meeting. He did come in for a series through an interception, so the Chargers have that going for him. That's what the Broncos are going for, but he's got no one. I mean, it's going to be the Noah Fant and Cortland Sutton show. That's it. That's all you got. Kendall Hinton, that's your wide receiver 4, as your wide receiver 2 this week. So it should be a game where this Chargers defense can really bounce back and show some salt if they want to be able to be a playoff team too. I mean, these are the games you have to have, not just because mathematically you have to have it, but it's a prove-it game. If you can't beat a Denver team that's this banged up at home, then you have no reason to be in the playoffs. No reason to be. Now, looking offensively, I already talked about the Chargers offensively. Well, Denver's got a damn good defense. Denver ranks 5th against the pass, 13th against the rush. They're first in points against, giving up only 17.3 points. Chargers are 8th in points for, scoring 27.2. He's got to find that it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Like a 24 over-under is probably the expectation. But when Broncos missing a lot of key guys, secondary's banged up, Bradley Chubb's out, Stephen Weatherly's out, Cooper's out. I mean, who's rushing the passer? So again, this Chargers offense also should have no excuses to perform much better. I mean, anything's better than their first matchup, where they were just abysmal. Justin Herbert played terrible. The running game couldn't get going. The offense was non-existent. So I'm excited to see not only the offense, how they bounce back, but also the game plan that Joe Lombardi comes up with, knowing what happened in the first matchup, knowing the guys that are out, who they attack, who they expose. I talked about in the Rams segment, attack the strength to expose the weakness. The Broncos defense, when guys are in, and again, they haven't been healthy all year. They're on like inside linebacker number 9, and they're still a top 5 ranked defense. So whatever you think about Vic Fangio as a head coach, the dude is a baller as a defensive coordinator. Bradley Staley is his protege. Comes off his tree. You have all those injuries on defense and you're still a top 5 unit. That's impressive. So who is Joe Lombardi and Justin Herbert going to go after to then be able to expose the weakness? Now, I would think at this point, because of who is out, Bryce Callahan is huge on this defense. Very important in the nickel. And Kyle Fuller, who will probably play in his stead, who seemed like a great acquisition in the offseason, has had a very down year. Very up and down. So I expect a big game out of someone like Keenan Allen trying to run out of the slot. That's what I would do if I were Joe Lombardi and scheming things up. Let's get Keenan Allen in the slot. Get him away from Patrick Surtain, who has a shot to win Rookie of the Year. 2 of the best rookies in the NFL playing this weekend with Rashawn Slater and Pat Surtain Jr. So, should be a great game. Like I said, my wife and I will be there. I like the Chargers in this one just because of what's at stake. With the Broncos, how many guys are out? Kind of what's going on in that organization, knowing that their coach is probably going to be gone. They're in not really a rebuild, but you're in a new coach, new quarterback going in the next year. Chargers are playing for everything. I mean, they want a shot in the dance. I've said it before. The New York Giants won 2 Super Bowls sneaking into the playoffs at 9-7. They went on to win the Super Bowl. Chargers can still sneak in at 10-7. Once you're in the dance, all bets are off. But they got to start on Sunday. Playoffs start on Sunday for your Los Angeles Chargers, and they got to have it. Got to have it. Well, that's going to do it for the LA Football Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Ryan Dyrud. Find us on Twitter at LAFB Network, at Ryan Dyrud, LAFB, YouTube channel at LAFB Network, and of course, the website, LAFBnetwork.com. A very happy new year to you and all your loved ones. I hope 2022 brings you everything you want, all the bliss, happiness, everything you need to recuperate from 2020 and 2022 or 2021. I hope 2022 is that much and more. Pumped you're here with us. Stick with us on this ride on the LA Football Network because we got nothing but greatness coming to you in the new year. And I couldn't be more thrilled and thankful that you've been with us so far. Bless you. Happy New Year. I'm out. Peace.